Hey guys, this is Vadim with MaxTech, and I am extremely excited because we just got a ton of Apple Silicon Mac leaks that were just revealed, including the redesigned iMac, totally redesigned MacBook Pros, 2 new Mac Pro desktops, and a new Apple display. All of this just broke, and I'm more excited than ever, especially for the new redesigned MacBook Pros, which have been rumored for about a year now. So in this video, I'm gonna go through all of those leaks and give my personal thoughts and opinions on how exactly this is gonna play out on these new Macs and when we should expect them to get released. So let me first start with the MacBook Pros before we move on to the others. Late last night, Ming-Chi released a report confirming that Apple is working on 2 new Macs, a 14-inch and 16-inch MacBook Pro. But here's the best part, these new MacBook Pros will feature a new flat edge design similar to the current iPhones and iPad Pro, getting rid of those curved edges that we currently have on the MacBooks. Now you might be asking, why would Apple do this? Wouldn't it make them look very thick? Well, I figured out 2 very important reasons why, and I'll get to them in just a minute. Moving on, it seems like Apple is recently doing everything they can to satisfy the requests of their MacBook user fan base. Ming-Chi says that Apple is finally getting rid of the touch bar, instead returning to physical function keys. This is huge because I know of so many people that have been complaining about the touch bar, and on my own personal 2018 15-inch MacBook Pro, I've actually set the touch bar to simply display the classic function keys because they're so much easier to use. Now, some might come to the conclusion that Apple could be finally packing in a touchscreen display since they're ditching the touch bar, and while there is a chance that that could happen, I personally disagree. Here's why. A long time ago, Steve Jobs said touchscreen Macs don't make sense because they're ergonomically terrible. And then in 2014, Craig Federighi said Apple has no plans to add a touchscreen to a Mac. Later, Phil Schiller said that it makes sense for the Mac to have a precise pointer for user input. And then once again in 2016, he said that they tried it out and absolutely came away with the belief that it isn't the right thing to do. In 2018, Craig again said that touchscreen Macs would be pretty fatiguing on the arms, and even Jony Ive said that a touchscreen on a Mac isn't particularly useful. And then just 3 months ago, Craig Federighi was heard saying Apple wasn't even remotely considering adding a touchscreen to the Mac, even with the new Big Sur update. So with all of that coming directly from Apple, I personally doubt that we'll be seeing a touchscreen Mac for a long time, even with Apple finally ditching the touch bar, which I'm glad they're doing because the function keys are just better. And as we already know, these new MacBook Pros will be coming with Apple's new mini LED displays, which will basically look almost as good as OLED displays, but without all the drawbacks. Now here's another bombshell from Ming. There will be no Intel CPU options for these MacBook Pros going forward. In fact, I personally believe that every single Mac that's about to get redesigned will not get an Intel CPU. So new design means Apple Silicon chip. And as most of you already know, I think the M1X chip will be going into both the 14-inch and 16-inch MacBook Pro, and the performance is gonna be insane. And to confirm my speculation on that, Ming-Chi also said that both of these MacBook Pro models will be using the same heat pipe design currently used by the 16-inch MacBook Pro, allowing for increased computing power, which basically means that the 14-inch is also getting the crazy powerful M1X chip. Getting even more interesting, Ming said that they're also coming with more types of ports, which I wasn't expecting at all. This shows that Apple is truly starting to listen to their customers, and if you're wondering which ports they're gonna have, I think that Apple has a wide variety of options. Because they're gonna redesign the body itself, making it flat on the bottom and the sides, the actual sides will have more room for larger ports, so they can potentially add 1 or 2 regular USB-A ports if they really wanted to. But I myself personally think that these new MacBook Pros will come with 4 Thunderbolt 4 ports, 1 SD card slot, a headphone jack, and 1 USB-A port, just not to make it too busy, but I guess we'll see. Now, the absolute bombshell leak is the rumor that Apple is finally bringing back the MagSafe charging connector, and I have a really crazy theory about Apple's future plans for MagSafe. I believe that the main reason why Apple is giving the future MacBooks a flat side design is specifically for the MagSafe feature. I personally speculate that the new flat side design will allow Apple to make a brand new MagSafe connector that looks extremely similar to the smart connector on the current iPad Pro. So I think there's literally going to be 3 flush mounted circles or squares on the side of the MacBook Pro right next to the other ports. Apple will include a new MagSafe charging cable in the box, and it simply holds on magnetically while charging, and Apple could even allow data to travel through it. Now you might ask, why? Well, you may have heard that Apple is planning to make the iPhone completely portless. My theory is that Apple will literally replace the Lightning port with the same new MagSafe connector right on the bottom of the iPhone as well as the Mac. So the future iPhone will technically be portless using the new completely sealed MagSafe connector, and you're going to be getting a 1 meter long MagSafe cable in the box, and the users who do want to use wireless charging can buy the MagSafe wireless charging puck for $40 on Apple's website. And on the MacBook side of things, you'll be getting a 2 meter long MagSafe cable in the box for charging, which frees up one of the Thunderbolt ports, and there you go, Apple has successfully replaced Lightning with a new standard connector without switching to USB-C. This means that Apple can continue charging licensing fees for this new proprietary connector, and they can continue to sell MFI accessories just like they did with Lightning. So that's my theory, and if it comes true, remember this video. And by the way, Mark Gurman from Bloomberg agrees with a lot of these rumors that Ming-Chi said, including the MagSafe part. Now, digging a bit deeper into the new design, I personally believe that these MacBook Pros will become thinner to help the new flat design not look as thick. This is exactly what Apple did with the iPhone 12 lineup. They had to make it thinner because the new flat side design makes it look thicker. Now, the reason Apple is going to be able to do this with the new MacBook Pros is because they're going to pack very cool and efficient Apple Silicon chips, and with those chips will come a brand new redesigned logic board that's going to be taking up much less space. The touch bar is going away, so that takes up less space, and the battery can now become thinner and more spread out amongst the larger interior, which comes thanks to the flat design. So yes, Apple will most likely make it thinner without sacrificing battery life because of Apple Silicon. And on top of that, because of the new flat design, the display portion where the webcam is currently housed is gonna get thicker, allowing for a 1080p webcam, or maybe even Face ID. Now, as far as the release date, Ming-Chi believes that they'll be coming in the 3rd quarter of this year, which basically puts it in between July and the end of September. So I'm gonna personally put my money on Apple announcing these MacBook Pros at WWDC in June, which they've done in the past, with an official launch date the 1st week of July. And now let's finally get into those other leaked Macs, starting with the iMac. There's gonna be 2 iMacs also with a new redesign, which will come with a completely flat back and flat sides, basically the same that Apple is doing to the new MacBook Pro. Now, what's very interesting is that Ming believes that the chin will finally be going away, so it's gonna look essentially like the Pro Display XDR, except I think that it's probably gonna have a small Apple logo on the front. These new iMacs will of course come with the new Apple Silicon chips, and I personally think that the smaller 23 to 24 inch model will come with the M1X chip, just like the new MacBook Pros. But the larger model will come with a better chip, potentially with up to 20 CPU cores, and I also think that this model is going to come with a dedicated custom Apple GPU chip. Now, in terms of the size, I think the larger model will come with a new display ranging anywhere from 28 to 30 inches, most likely sticking to the same 5K resolution, but it's gonna finally come with decent HDR support. And as far as the release date, I personally don't think they're gonna come until after the M1X MacBook Pros are released, so I'm gonna bet on sometime maybe this fall or maybe even winter this year. Now, Apple is also rumored to be releasing a new lower priced external display, and I personally think it's gonna come with the same exact display panel that's gonna be in the new large iMac, just like they did with the previous LG ultrafine 4K and 5K displays. So there might even be a new 23 to 24 inch display and a new 28 to 30 inch display. And now finally, this brings us to our last major leak of the day, and that's rumors from Mark Gurman of Apple working on 2 new Mac Pro desktops, with one of them coming with a new design reminiscent of the Power Mac G4 Cube. This leak finally gives us a good idea on how Apple will handle giving the Mac Pro the Apple Silicon chip. The larger Mac Pro that we currently have will simply be updated with new PCI Express 4.0 support on the motherboard, new Intel Xeon chips, new AMD Big Navi graphics cards, and it's going to maintain the ability to use massive amounts of RAM and other full-size PCI Express cards. And I believe that this will be the very last Intel Mac that will ever get released, and I think it's gonna come potentially maybe this year, the end of December, or it's gonna come alongside the Apple Silicon Mac Pro next year, and I think that's probably more likely. And that redesigned Mac Pro is gonna come with a brand new Apple Silicon chip, potentially packing up to a 32 or 64 core CPU. On top of that, I believe that Apple will be creating custom Apple GPU cards, having up to 128 cores on one card that you can put into the new Mac Pro. However, it will not support third-party graphics cards. It will only support smaller PCI Express cards like audio and networking cards, but not graphics. It'll likely pack just one large fan that cools the entire system, and I personally think it's gonna get released in December of 2022 with a starting price of around $3,000 to $4,000. So there you guys have it. That was the massive arsenal of Mac leaks that we just got within the past 24 hours. So if you disagree with any of my speculations, comment down below and click the circle above to subscribe for more videos like this one, and definitely check out my video on the iMac redesign right over there. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next one.